Hello, everyone. This is Ken Quigley. I'm the president and founder of Keystroke. You'll be joined later by Craig, who's Strybosh, is the head of our handheld contact support. If you've ever called in for support or emailed in for support, you've likely been communicating with Craig. He's been with the team for, I think, 10, 15 years at least. And then Vic, who is the founder of Handheld Contact and is the Keystroke vice president. He'll be doing a little demo at the very end just to kind of give you a feel of the new program. Okay. As I said, we've got a lot of people here. I'm just going to make sure I'm going through and muting a few of the late joiners. Excellent. Okay, so let me just apologize up front. I don't normally use PowerPoint, but I came in this morning and I had pages and pages of presentations. I was going to do a little nips and tucks on some final changes, and my computer restarted overnight, and somehow the Word file got corrupted, so lost everything. So first thing, 8 o'clock this morning, I was able to confirm that a lot of blood was rushing to my heart, so I went with the safe path of PowerPoint. So apologies up front, but we will try to cover everything. I've been able to put together the presentation, I think pretty much from where it was yesterday. Anyway, let's jump into the agenda. So our first part of the agenda is going to be our journey here. The second part is, why are we making all these changes? Okay. The third part is how the changes affect you, like what you'll have to do, and then the exciting stuff at the end, new features and purchase options. So we're all really excited about that. Okay, so let's begin. The journey to this date. The journey started back in 2016 for us when we acquired Handheld Contact, and Handheld Contact at the time was founded in 2013, was the leading mobile solutions for ACT at time of acquisition, and it featured contact and calendar sync with notes and histories and a maximum of 15,000 contacts. And while HHC provided the most ACT-like mobile experience, we know we had to improve the offering to remain relevant. So we set out to add 40 new features and 6 new products and services over the next 7 years while investing over $1 million in the product. Let's jump to the next. So here's the products that we added. So the first thing was Handheld Contact API, a totally rewritten product that connected directly to the database through the ACT Web API, obviously available exclusively for ACT subscribers. There was no Windows console that people were used to. You were able to sync multiple devices per account. There's a new dashboard, new modern look, and supported much, much faster and frequent syncs. The next one, and we came out with this in, I remember this very well because it was in the end of March 2020. So you can imagine how popular a new mobile client was as the world suddenly became very not mobile. The next project was Handheld Contact Mac. Okay. Obviously, that has a smaller audience, but it's the only on-premise software to manage ACT data for Macs. And I'm kind of doing this out of sequence, but one of the first things that we released since we took over Handheld Contact in late 2016, in early 2017, one of the initial demands that we had was a much more secure offering, okay, that was HIPAA compliant. And so what we did is we came up with Handheld Contact Secure Plus. And this had all kinds of new features and really, really useful for people that were in the health industry, in the financial industry, and they had to have their mobile software, especially because it was on-premise, it had to have that added security. So user authentication, app locks, app disable, automatic data wipes, mobile device encryption, per user customization, centralized management. So a lot of features from a security perspective that people really, really liked. Okay. And then funny enough, I was going to mention HHC Restore, which allows us to restore. Now they have to have ACT version 21 or higher, okay, and they have to have an active subscription. But we ran into a lot of people who had lost their database either through hard drive failure or through database corruption, and they go to restore their backup if they had them and they found out the data wasn't useful. So we created a service called HHC Restore that allowed us to restore the database, at least the data that was in Handheld Contact, back to ACT. Okay, so create a new database and all of it got restored. So that was really exciting. And the reason I say it's really exciting because we literally had an SOS email this morning with someone that went through that very situation. The next one is kind of low key. We came out with HHC Basic and HHC Lite. You know, in business, you've got all kinds of great ideas. You try different things and you keep what works, and you get rid of what didn't. HHC Basic and Lite were probably better in concept than they were actually in the field. There just wasn't that much of a demand to keep that many versions in the market, and quite frankly, it lost some of its value because it created confusion with people. HHC Basic was, basically the version that we pretty much acquired at the beginning, and we wanted to have offer people a cheaper version, but it just never took off. And then the Lite version was free, that allowed one-way syncing. Okay, and sorry, just another mute here. Okay, and allowed one-way syncing, and again, that really didn't take off. So, just to keep the offering simple, we dropped those. Okay, but now the more exciting stuff. Let's get into the list of new features, which is long. Okay, so the first thing that we had is that we had a limit of 15,000 contacts. We offered upgrades to 30 and 45. We included email invitations with new activities, business card scanning. I'm not going to read them all, but you can see some of the highlights of them: contact exporting, calendar exporting, mapping. One of our first priorities was to take the product that was just contacts and calendars and really make it more act-like, and that required opportunity support. So we had to build, and that took about 6 to 8 months to in all departments to build that. And so now we've got full opportunity support. Once that existed, when quoting, secondary contacts, mail merging, and just to kind of show you what some of those look like, here was the new dashboard that we introduced. Here is the mobile mapping. Here is the opportunity features. And then here's the mail merge. So the mail merge feature where people can actually select from a saved search and send out emails and include BCCs and CCs and things like that. And then email alerts. We found that a lot of people, including myself, would miss really important things like birthdays and anniversaries and that, and there really wasn't a reliable means in ACT to remind people of, so we built that feature in. And then the last one that I really want to highlight was the quoting feature that, once we got opportunities in, we wanted people to be able to quote from those opportunities, so we built support for that. Okay, so that kind of, we went through all of those. We also opened up the office in Kitchener, Kitchener, Ontario in 2017. We replaced the handheldcontact.com website. However, one of the things about having a 13-year history, I mean, it's great, but it also means the accumulation of quite a bit of technical debt along the way. So while releasing these new products and features were important, we also had to complete the following very unexciting service upgrades. And some of you guys were exposed to this over the last few years. We had to upgrade the console. Okay, this happened, I believe, in 2021. We had to update the Handheld Contact console because it was using an older database structure. Not that it's terribly exciting, but it was using a Firebird database structure, and we went to the more modern, faster SQLite, and that improved the syncing performance. And then we moved the middleware, so this was exciting. Back last year, while we were doing a bunch of other projects, and we were planning for the upgrade that we're going to be talking about today, Amazon notified us that we had 45 days to get off one of their servers because they were deprecating the servers. So we had to suddenly put together a committee and organize planning to migrate off that servers. And so what we did is we took our European server and North American server and consolidated that into one, which was a lot of fun. And then you're going to see we also updated the shopping cart experience in the back end. We're going to demonstrate that towards the end. And then finally, which is what we're going to be covering today, was the upgrade of the data transfer format from XML to JSON, okay? Which brings us where we are today. Okay, so how does this affect you? Because me talking about JSON is the fastest way of putting everyone to sleep. Well, JSON requires less processing power because the files are smaller. So when the files are smaller, they get transferred faster and they're more reliable. The fact that JSON doesn't include tags also makes troubleshooting data transfers a lot easier. To be specific, the biggest performance improvement will be the sending of the data from the HHC server or from to the HHC server after it's been retrieved from ACT. Now, unfortunately, the biggest bottleneck is from ACT to your console. Okay, so no changes can be made on that. We just can't improve the speed from which we can get the data from ACT, but we can improve the console speed. We can improve the speed to the server, and we have done all of that. The changes that we have made to the JSON accounts also makes it possible to keep people from signing up a classic account and tried to use an API. So we built in some protections there, okay? Switching to JSON also allows our customers to sync more data faster and improve every part of the handheld contact experience, okay? It also provides us a better foundation to build more features in the future, and we're gonna get to that in a second. Okay, so what's the immediate impact? Well, at first, nothing. Okay, so we're launching next week. The Handheld Contact Classic relaunch was scheduled for Monday. We're pushing it to Tuesday for a couple of reasons. Probably the biggest is that it's an American holiday in the United States. A lot of people are celebrating Juneteenth, and all of our American employees will be off. So we figured in respect of that, let's at least push it a day, okay? But for everyone in attendance and everyone that's using Classic, nothing is going to happen to your sync experience. You will continue to sync as you've done in the past, and you will be able to continue syncing. I would like to suggest that you think of it much like the Protexis experience, okay, from back in 2018. Okay, I'm just kind of going through because I'm hearing some background noise here. I'm just going to remind everyone, please mute yourself. Okay, but I want to remind that the Protexis experience basically involved the licensing server going down and everyone being told, look, as long as nothing changes, you can keep using ACT, but there will become a point in the future where you won't be able to use ACT. Okay, this is the same kind of thing. You can continue using your handheld contact, okay, for exactly a year from today, okay? A year from today, we are going to be cutting off all XML syncing. So you've got between now and the next year to do your upgrade, okay? So couple of things to note. If you get a new phone or you get a new computer and you need to reinstall either the Windows console or the mobile app, then you are upgrading, okay? Just like Protexis, if there was any change in your setup and it forced a call home, then you would have to upgrade. This is the same kind of thing. So I just want to make sure that everyone is very, very aware that we are letting you upgrade at your convenience, but there are certain things that may dictate the timing of when you upgrade more than just your convenience, okay? So just be mindful of the fact that if you change your phone, you will have to download the JSON software, okay, for the mobile devices from the Google Play or from App Store, because as of the 20th next week, we are taking down the XML versions of those programs. Okay, so even if you wanted to reinstall the XML, you won't be able to get them from Google Play or the App Store. So just be mindful of that. And because of that, you are going to have to use the new console, okay, which is available on this screen where you can see the downloads and then scroll down, and that's where you're going to get it, okay? And then you will install the console as you can see here on this computer, okay? That's really important to note. So you've got over the next year to upgrade, okay, at your leisure, whatever is convenient for you. But if certain circumstances arise where you're getting a new phone, you're getting a new computer, replacing the computer with the Windows console on, we are taking down all the XML software from the mobile stores and from our own site. So you will have to reinstall with the new software. So what's involved in this process? Okay, let me just jump back here. Okay, so what's involved in this process? Basically, the process is you delete the mobile software from your device. Okay, if you have a 64-bit version of the console, which is, and actually, let me just see if I've got this available. Nope, I've got it closed. If you have a version that and you're not sure which it is, just click on Help and About, and it will tell you which version. If it says 6, then you just install right over top of it, and it will upgrade and transfer all of your settings. Now, one of the things that I tasked my team to do is make it as easy as possible for everyone. So even if you are using a 32-bit version, which is version 4 of the console, you uninstall that, and then you install the new version 6, and it will grab all your settings, okay, and migrate them over to the version 6. So we've done a lot of testing to make sure that we can minimize the impact of this upgrade. So this is actually going to be easier than a lot of the upgrades that you've done in the past, okay? And then once that is done, okay, once you've completed the migration and you launch the software and you go to the very first sync, then it's going to force you to do a resend all. If you think that there's anything that you've got to do, nope. The very first sync will be a resend all, and then at that point, obviously, you have to download the software to whatever device you're using, Android or iOS, configure it with your account information, and then your next sync will download all the data, and then you're going to continue on as you have before. Now, if you get a server lock or error message saying that it can't sync, it's likely because that first initial sync hasn't completed. Okay, so just be mindful that that is something that you've got to wait it out. Okay, that is the same way right now. So just you'll wait that out, and we'll when it's done, then you'll be able to sync per normal. Okay. Now, couple of points that I want to be very, very super clear on. Okay, the upgrade process we've made as simple as possible, but for complete transparency, I want everyone to understand some of why we're doing what we're doing. Okay, so a few points to be mindful of. The previous XML versions of the apps in the HTC console, as I said, will no longer be available. The old console will be removed from our website, and the old apps will be removed from Google Play and App Store and replaced with the new JSON versions. All products updates, fixes, and compatibility updates will be applied to the JSON version only. So no support will be provided for the XML apps. Even if you have a support plan and you call in, we're just going to say, look, a lot of the issues that people are reporting, we have during this migration process already fixed in the new production apps. Okay, this was a long process. I've been using the JSON version for probably 4 to 6 months, actually closer to 6 months, because it goes back to at least last year. Okay, so a lot of fixes have been applied along the way. So we're not going to support people in in using their old apps when an upgrade will fix most of the issues that they're going to complain about. Okay. We're also recommending that people upgrade around their renewal. Okay. Now this is just a rule of thumb. It's absolutely not written in stone. It's just kind of a guideline, because a lot of people are going to, wonder, why don't I upgrade right away, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's jump ahead and say, well, what if that happened? Why would we not just rip off the Band-Aid and force everyone to upgrade at once? Well, one, that's needlessly disruptive and inconvenient. Okay, there's going to be a lot of people, and we found this out in 2017, where they lost access to their data and they were in a situation where they're absolutely relying on that. We're never going to put people through that again. So we are letting people upgrade at their leisure, at their convenience, and we're not going to treat it as urgent if it really isn't. Okay. Secondly, is if everyone, we have thousands of Handheld Contact subscribers. If everyone suddenly synced in the same day or the same week, this would be a terrible load on our servers and likely would lead to outages anyway. Okay, because you can imagine the amount of data that would be flushing through the middleware servers that is guaranteed to take the toll. We don't want to find out, but it absolutely will in all likelihood. And the third one is if anyone has problems and everyone is trying to do their setup at the exact same time, this would absolutely overwhelm our support team. Okay, so we want to be very, very mindful of that and make sure that they are, you know, that if people do need support, they've got access to it. Okay. So, and that is it. Craig, how are we doing? Or Vic, how are we doing with questions?
No questions yet.
I see a few comments.
I can't see. I can only see the chat. That's all I can see.
Okay, so okay, so I see someone's got a question about Dymo printers. Please talk to our sales team about that. I have HTC Classic 6.04. I may have missed it, but how do I upgrade? Just install over top of it. Next week, the new version will come out. Just install over it. Can you please demo how mapping works? I'm sorry, I can't. It's just not in scope. We've got a lot to cover today, so I won't be doing that. Someone asked when I'm going to be buying ACT, right around the same time that I want my wife to divorce me, so that's not going to happen. And let's see, and I think that it covers most of that. A couple of people complaining about no audio. Not sure what I can do about that. I think there's only 2 out of the 115, so that doesn't seem to be an issue for most. If you have no audio, this is silly. I'm explaining something for people that can't hear it, but in that event, just log out, log back in. Okay, and if you have no audio, then you didn't hear those instructions. Okay, so let's go to next. I see my slides are a little bit out of order here. So let's go to new features. Okay, this is the part that I'm really excited about. Okay, so I'm going to toggle back because I was a little out of order here in my slides. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to be talking about is the browse users. Okay, and let me just kind of go ahead here. Browse users are going to be able to use Handheld Contact. So I'm going to just show you what that means so you can see here. I've got our own production database, and Vic's daughter, Adriel, who if you're a longtime customer, you've all likely spoken with her in the past. She used to be with us. She hasn't been with us for the last couple of years, so we've re-enabled her user account as a browse user. Now, if you know anything about ACT, browse users are read only. They cost nothing, so it's a free account that allows people to kind of log in and have a look but no touch experience with ACT. Okay. Okay, so now you can see this. Now, let me just go back here. As most of you are aware, the browse users, now the functionality for browse users was great for accounting or admin staff that often needed to just look up contacts in ACT. However, one of the untapped uses for browse users has been for contract staff, like outside staff that maybe weren't employees. Sometimes they would be, but they weren't the kind of people that really required full-time access. Okay, so let's consider some of the use cases. And these are cases that have been presented to us. So consider outside tradespeople. So if you are a trades company and you've got people like painters, electricians, plumbers, and the sort, people who are not employees but work with customers on behalf of your company, then those people will need to know where they're going, what address they're going to, who they're contacting, what's going to be done. So they need access to ACT and have it on their device, okay? Other services, and again, these are examples that we've been given, agency talents like public speakers, comedians, entertainers, or similar type people where you're dealing with nonstop, like a roster of subcontractors that you are selling their services out and selling to events and things like that. Those are the same kind of people that need to know where they're going, the details of each of the events, the kind of details that would be in ACT. Delivery and assembly staff, if you have people that deliver your goods and assemble them on site, then do you really want to pay $450 for an ACT license for when all they need to know is who is it's going to and where and when? Okay. Outside consultants, so people like for that IT, marketing, business, you name it. And here's the last one that a lot of people don't think about. We're the largest reseller of ACT in the world. And one of the things that always surprises me is business owners don't want to use ACT. They want their staff to use it, and they want to go into it occasionally, but they don't want to use it for scheduling, and they don't want to use it for opportunities, and they just want all their staff to use it. And they'll be happy with browse use just so they can kind of log in and see what's going on, but they're not going to write to it or anything like that. So they've like, why pay $450 for that? Okay. Well, these people, all of these kinds of people, as I said, they just want to look up where they're going, when they're going, and with whom. This limited use is often hard to justify the expense of ACT. So these people are forced to carry around a laptop and log into their database as a browser user just to see the details of the appointments. However, even if they wanted to go to that trouble, the clunkiness of the laptop, carrying it around in the car and things like that, there's a lot of things that our new handheld contact can do that ACT can't, okay? So as you can see right here, we've got Adriel as a browse user, okay? Now, in ACT, if you try to schedule on behalf of a browse user, you can't. It will either not display the browse users or it won't save an activity where it's scheduled for the browse user, okay? I've seen both, but both of them produce the same effect. You can't do it. So you would put in scheduled with, okay? Now, in ACT, that's obviously a problem because when you go to your task list and you select filter by, it's going to show you all the scheduled fors. Okay, well, if I've got Adriel as the scheduled with, then I'm not able to even select her as a person whose activities I want to see. Okay, Handheld Contact gets around that issue. Why? Because in the console, okay, you can select for activity syncing to show with and for me, and with, for, and by me, and that will allow you to filter the activities, okay, so that even if Adriel is a with and not a for, okay, she will show up on her task, like her task list will show activities that she's scheduled for. And we did a test yesterday, as you can see. Here's a test scheduled with Adriel, and here is the inside of it. You can see it's actually scheduled with and for Craig, but it's showing up for her because she's the scheduled with, okay? Now, let me just go back since I've got some of this out of order. Okay, so that is kind of the exciting breakdown of the new feature of Handheld Contact supporting browse users. So full application functionality. So when you are using the device as a browse user, there's no limits. You can use every single feature, importing, exporting, scheduling, write access, mapping, quoting, you name it, except you can't sync back to ACT. It's a one-way sync. As you might guess, we cannot circumvent, and we won't circumvent, the ACT licensing. So, it's right, it's no right. So we are making sure that you can do anything you want on the device, okay? But you can't expect those changes to sync back, okay? So everything comes one way. Now, that's a little different than a resend all, which is a destructive sync. When you resend all, everything on the destination, okay, on the device gets wiped out. Well, if you set personal appointments for yourself, you put in personal contacts and things like that, when you sync next time, those will be preserved. So all the changes that you make on that device, okay, will stay there, okay? But if you are expecting those changes to sync back to ACT, it won't. So it's one way. So from ACT to device, not from device to ACT. So one-way sync, as I said, is not destructive. Okay, it will not wipe out anything on the device. So let's get to the punchline. What is the cost? The cost is the same as normal, $84 per user per device. Now let me just jump right in here and say, I know what the objective is. It's less than a full experience. Why are you paying the full price? Well, the reason is You guys, these particular users are paying nothing for the ACT license. There's absolutely no justification for them to also save on the handheld contact license. If people have the ability to have mobile access, like all these delivery people, outside consultants, agency, subcontractors have the ability to see their calendar, okay? See where they're going, when they're going to these locations. We don't think $7 a month is a lot to spend, okay? Especially if that's all they're going to be spending with no ACT licensing costs, okay? So let me just kind of pause to see if there's any questions on that.
Nothing in
Okay.
the chat.
What if you're a brand new customer? When basically next month or next week, if you're a brand new customer, then it's going to be exactly like it was before. There's going to be one download for mobile, one download for the HEC console. You're going to install it, and it's going to be no different. There's not going to be any migration. You'll be like your experience will be like any other first-time user. Okay, so first install over PC app, latest version, second install over new app on the phone. Okay, so first of all, delete the mobile software, okay, because everything's going to be wiped on that, so delete that first thing. Upgrade your software on your computer. As I said, if you're running version 4, then uninstall and then reinstall, and we've developed the new console to migrate over your settings, even though it's from 32 to 64. And then if you're a version 6, upgrading to version 6, then just install over top of it, and literally it's the easiest thing. And then the first time you launch it and run a sync, it will do a resend all. At that point, make sure you download after Tuesday the software to your mobile device. Google, go to Google Play. Sorry, Android, go to Google Play, and iOS, go to the App Store, download the software and configure it as you did before. And then your next sync will bring down all your contacts, and then you will just continue to use Handheld Contact as you always have. Okay, so I hope that's clear. What is cost from Classic 4.4? There is no cost difference. And by the way, we're gonna pat ourselves, take a little bit of credit here. We've invested $1 million in upgrading Handheld Contact from the way we found it in 2016. Okay, and in all that time, we've increased the price less than 5% over 7 years. So we've tried to be as consistent from a cost perspective, even though we've added 6 new products and services and over 40 new features. Okay. If you had stopped using HEC and want to use it again, what you need to do, basically you're going to be a new user. Okay. So just if you've got the old software still running, okay, obviously you shouldn't have it open and running if you don't have an account, because that's just wasting system resources. But if you do have it there, then just install over top of it. If it's the old version 4, then uninstall, reinstall, and you'll get the same benefit of account migration. Okay. Another mobile mapping question. I had HAC Classic installed on both my Android phone and my Android tablet, both accessing this means that I've always had to purchase 2. Yes, so this is a question, this actual issue existed before we got involved, but the way that it syncs with the middleware, what it does, it's kind of a handshake. So you send all the changes from that one account to the middleware server, and then the device syncs for that account to check for changes. So it's kind of like a watermark. So it's always checking the changes and reconciling the changes and downloading those changes from each direction. The only way that it can do that, okay, if it is working with one account. If you had multiple accounts, okay, then the watermark would be different for each and every single account based on the fact that you would have a different device that may not be syncing at the same sequence. That's why you've always had to have a dedicated account per device. API eliminated that because it didn't sync through middleware, it just went straight to the data. Okay, so you were syncing directly with the database, whereas Classic goes through our middleware, and it's the middleware that does all the sync reconciliations. Okay, no, that's not an exciting explanation, but I wanted to make sure that it was well understood. Okay, are you ending integration with ACT? I'm not sure I understand that. We're continuing, we're actually increasing it. Does it matter what version of Act you have? No, that we're actually, there's no compatibility differences. System requirements are the same as they were before. I will tell you that we found that it's less the case with Android users, more the case with iOS users, and I think this may be due to the cost of the higher price of iOS devices, that people tend to use older devices with older software. Keep in mind that our 2+1 policy, which basically will go back 2 years in terms of operating systems, is still in play. So if you are beyond that, then you may, and you need support, then that's not something that we'll be able to provide. Okay. Okay. Meeting times in HHC with the mobile time. Okay, that's time zone issue. However, I can still sync from my phone to desktop. Yes, nothing's changing there. Okay. And I think, okay.
One more question here, Ken. Sorry.
Go ahead. Yep.
Currently, if I make an appointment on my phone, it will
Mm-hmm.
sync to Act on my PC, but not on the new version. No, it will work on the new version.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely going to. We're just talking about browse users that are not paying for an Act license, and since that doesn't apply to anyone, since we haven't released that feature, if you have an Act license and you've been syncing, then absolutely nothing is changing. So thank you for that question. I want to be crystal clear on that. We're not reducing any feature in Handheld Contact as you've experienced it previously. What we're doing is we're just extending access to Handheld Contact to unlicensed browse users, but we have some license compliance of our own, and we can't circumvent the EULA of Act and provide write access to browse users. Okay, so that's all there is. That will keystroke provide phone support for those upgrading if extra support. We have done, our support policies won't change, and we have done everything possible to make the console upgrade as smooth as, in fact, it's going to be easier than it's ever been before. So we still will have our email policy, and we'll still have our phone support policy for people. And what we have done, okay, if you are at all concerned, and this is again one more reason that we are talking to people about scheduling their upgrade around the renewal, if that is an option for them. If you do that, then you can renew your next subscription with support at half price. You bundle it, because normally it's $10 a month. When you bundle it with the software renewal, it is, or your subscription renewal, it's $5 a month. So if you think you're going to need it, it may be worth paying that $60 extra to get that phone support you need. But I don't want this to seem like a gotcha. We've invested a lot of time to minimize the need for support, and like literally we've been working on this project for 18 months. Now, obviously the Amazon thing came up in the process, but on and off for about 18 months. And you know, since we finished that last summer, the Amazon project, we've been working on this pretty much steady for about 10 months. Okay. Let's see. Well, okay. Okay, covered that. Okay, version 25 came out on Thursday. We've just got it's going to support it, but let me just tell you, there just is not that much difference from a syncing perspective. There's a small schema change. We don't expect that to be consequential. Most of the upgrades were hard-coded as opposed to be a compatibility difference, so we're making sure there are no hard-coded restrictions. So everything that you're going to be getting will be compatible with V25. Okay, but we generally don't recommend that people upgrade for the first few weeks anyway with the new release of Act, okay, because there tends to be a lot of updates in the first few weeks, but you know, the experience should be fine. Okay, will the Leafs ever win the Stanley Cup? No. When is a good time to do the upgrade? Tech support. Basically, as I said before, the timing is of your own, okay? If you really want to jump on this on Tuesday, by all means. We're not worried about, you know, 3,000 to 4,000 people doing it on the same day, but just understand that, you know, when you do it based on your device upgrade or computer upgrade or your renewal, then there's less likely to be congestion. And if you do need support, there's less likely to be a backlog. Okay. Vic, I think I've covered most of the questions.
There's one here, but you covered it already.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to switch over to Craig. Craig, I'm going to make you the presenter. And Craig is going to walk us through the new shopping cart. Okay. And Craig, so just share your screen. Perfect. Craig, we can't hear you.
All right, great. Thanks, Ken. So there's been a overhaul of the Handheld Contact portal where you would log in and manage your subscriptions. A lot will look the same, but there's also been a number of changes to it. So I'm going to go through those quickly for you here. So I'm just going to log into the site. Now keep in mind, everything I'm showing here is in a separate sandbox. So this won't actually be live until next week when we push everything out. So this is just for demo purposes. So once you log in, you're going to see here, your Handheld Contact summary for the account. So your account, what service you have, if any, sign up date, expiry date, synchronization information, as well as if there's any data to be synchronized and in which direction. So a lot of this is still the same, but this button here at the top, this renew subscription, is something that is new, and I'm going to go over that in a second. First, I'm going to go to the manage subscriptions page. So again, very similar to what we already have, except that now we've included a couple little things on the right-hand side. So you've got subscriptions here that are available. So if you are managing an entire company, 10 users, if you're a reseller, any unassigned subscriptions are going to be found in this section. Once those subscriptions are assigned, they will move down to this section here, which are ones that you own. So owning a subscription will be where you would manage which accounts are active, and from there, if somebody left the company, for example, you can actually go in, unassign their subscription, and assign it to a new user within the company, and all that's managed through this website and through the logins. So here, I'll just show you quickly. Sorry. There we go. So I'm just going to take this unavailable or available subscription. I'm going to assign it to a user. So very, very similar to what is already there. Very easy to do. Yes, I want to assign.
Isn't demo data fantastic, Craig?
Yeah, I know. So there we are, different account. I applied it to new guy, so here he is, shows up, shows his expiry date. Now this particular account I have done numerous testing on. So you can see here his subscription that I own is right now queued, meaning it will become active, but it's not actually applied to the user to start being used right away. And you can see here his expiry date is actually set for 2025 because there's already subscriptions attached to this particular user. All right. The other thing I want to show is on each of these subscriptions, we have individual upgrade options. So for example, this one here, which I'll use as, new guy. Let's say I want to do an upgrade and this customer wants more contacts. If I click on upgrade, here's all the available upgrades that can be done for that subscription. So Ken had mentioned the Handheld Contact Restore. So here's where you can complete the purchase for that. You can add Secure Plus, increase your contact count by 15,000, 30,000. And if you don't have mobile care, here's the option to purchase that right on the individual subscription. For an API account, similar, but you're going to filter out only what's available. So the only thing that's an add-on for API is your mobile care option. Now, the next thing I want to show off is the purchase. So how the changes are going to occur now for monthly and annual subscriptions.
I really
So
want people to pay attention to this because this represents more meaningful changes.
So I'm just going to put a standard price. So this is what everyone's used to, typical one user, handheld contact subscription, no increase of contact count, and no inclusion of mobile care. So this is essentially the default, the minimum purchase that you would have to make to have handheld contact service. So there's two different buttons. There's the full year at $84, or now there's this option that's going to be available, which is per month. The monthly options will be available only through PayPal. So
you have to have a PayPal account for this.
you need a PayPal account.
Yeah.
So I'm going to log in to say that's the account.
So we've had a lot of people ask us
There we
about
go.
shorter term commitments, and now we're honoring them. So if we've obviously invested a lot in the software. If people want to basically have an extended paid trial, go month to month. We're confident that people that go month to month will switch over to the annual contract. Continue, Craig.
So as Ken mentioned with the mobile care option, if you try to purchase without any support plan, you will now get this pop-up message indicating that, for an additional $60 per user, you can include the mobile care, which is a discounted rate than buying everything individually. So you can have it, you cannot, but I'm going to say, okay, add that on. So the login's a little bit different than before, where we had a cart and you would have to kind of go over things to make sure it's correct. It's a little bit more streamlined for checkout. And you'll see here, because I said that I wanted to purchase it on a subscription and I wanted to do it, only option here is for PayPal. The button here for debit or credit card, it's still through PayPal, but it's essentially a guest checkout via PayPal's website. Now I already have an account all configured and set, so I'm going to choose this. And you'll see here now the breakdown has been applied. The renewal and every month hits are going to be taking place through PayPal. So you're agreeing to their services and subscribing through PayPal. So that it actually will be processed through them, not through us directly. So I'm going to agree. It's going to process the payment. And then, of course, it's going to bring me right back into the summary page. I'm going to go to manage. You'll see now, because I used the same account, here's my classic plus mobile care. And it's been queued to activate, meaning I already had the subscription. So this is the one that's active. I tacked it on top of it. And here's all the information. So on top of that, on the left-hand side, there's a option for order history. Now, one little change here that we've implemented is that you can go in here and click on the order ID, which is very nice. And now this opens up a printable invoice. So this is a PDF file that you can print and you can have on file. We get a lot of requests from customers who have purchased and they say, I don't have a receipt. May I have one? This now can be self-supplied.
Okay, so Craig, I got a couple of questions. So
sure.
First question from Jerry, is Act Connect link used? No, HAC Classic does not require API access at all, only Handheld Contact API. Had a question from Chip and Andy, both similar, asking if they have a support plan, okay, for Act, they also have to pay for a support plan for Handheld Contact. If you are paying someone else for Act support, okay, then yes, that doesn't help us, so you would have to pay us because we don't get any portion of that revenue. However, if you are paying Keystroke for Orange Care, okay, obviously we own Handheld Contact, then that also covers Handheld Contact. If you have a different support plan and you're a non-subscriber like VIP or Blocks of Hours, then it applies to all of our add-ons, including Handheld Contact. So I hope that covers those 2 questions, actually 3 questions. I mentioned at the beginning that this is recorded, and I'll send around the link to everyone tomorrow. Okay, can we finally sync photos both ways? The answer is no. Okay, the photos that you add to your contact record have no place to map going through, so they are just for your own convenience. Okay, but they don't sync with ACT. The API version, because it uses API, it has the ability to upload pictures directly to history. Okay, so you can take a picture on your phone, upload it to history, which gets synced immediately with ACT, but the console does not. Okay, my handle does not send updates. Okay. Okay, carry on, Craig. Let's cover the automatic renewals for annual, please.
For annual, sure. So I can go in here. I will just open something a little bit different. I'll say I want to use a 1-year API subscription. So the same process will appear. So very similar, go through the process. And here I'm going to say, I'm going to purchase through PayPal. Now, one little change I'm going to have put in here is to separate these 2 sections. So yes, I'm saying I'm going to purchase for a full year. There'll be a header of some kind to indicate that if you purchase through PayPal for an annual subscription, it will actually be a renewal. So set it, forget it. You signed up and you paid. Every year you will be charged per year, whereas with the Moneris one will be a one-time pay for the single year purchase.
So I just want to pause you, Craig, for a little bit.
Yep.
All the other reminders that you're used to getting about your upcoming renewals, those are still going to take place. We still want people to know that the renewal is coming up, and if for any reason they want to not renew, then they'll be advised of their upcoming renewal, and if they want to disable auto renew, they'll have the opportunity. This is absolutely not trying to get unintended renewals. Craig is head of support. I've asked him extensively, what is the biggest call driver on a day-to-day, week-to-week, year-to-year case? And it is always people at renewal not knowing how to log into their account. So this is something that we're hoping addresses that, and people have the ability to disable the auto renews if they were. So just please understand our intention is to make the experience a little bit better and less clunky at renewal time. Back to you, Craig.
So I'm just jumping back into the order history, and you can see that, I've gone through and processed these items, receipts for each of them. So, I've went in and said, okay, here's my annual purchase. It makes it pretty easy in order to pull up that information. There's also a website activity. This is going to track everything that's happening through the website, assigning subscriptions, unassigning subscriptions, even your website logins. So if you're wondering what's happening with my account, what's going on, this is the place to go. You can go here and get all the current updates for things. And the final option on the left is your add subscription key. So for resellers and individual special cases, we may supply a subscription key to be attached to the account. As you can see, throughout the purchase, throughout any of the other things, there was no keys or subscriptions that were needed to be applied. So you didn't have a code in order to enter it. I know sometimes through ACT, they will supply activation codes. That's where they get inserted. So you can insert them here. More often than not, it's not required then to be doing this manually. This is something that will be done through support or through sales with Handheld Contact support.
So Craig, we've got a question that actually it's a good one here. Gentleman asks, how does this affect Handheld Contact API, or how does Handheld Contact API factor into it? Well, all the features that we talked about Classic and the relaunch of Classic, of course, that's going to be limited to Classic subscribers and won't impact API users. But everything that Craig is showing you in terms of account signups, account renewals, monthly plans, things like that, all of those things apply equally, because these account types are the same for, well, not the same account types, but the purchase process is the same for both. Correct, Greg?
Correct.
Okay, so that's about the only overlap, is the purchase and renewal experience. But from the software experience, where we talked about all the features and what people are going to have to do next week represents no change to API users unless they're renewing, and then they're just going to experience some of what Craig has walked us through.
Yeah, so on that topic, same server and the same backend is used for both Classic and API for account management. So that's how we can use the same page, the same websites for managing both. But at the same time, that's why you need to have a different Handheld Contact username, a different email if you're going to have a subscription of Classic and a subscription of API. You can't use the same email for both because they're both managed from the same location.
Yeah. And we've had people actually, thank you very much for attending. We're at the 1 hour point. We were just going to walk you through the final minute on showing you the new software, but really the only thing that we've removed is the chevron pop-up menu, and we've put that in the top left-hand corner where the hamburger menu is. Otherwise, it's going to look and feel the exact same. This is not a UI experience. Everything that changes that we've implemented over the last 10 months have all been about under the hood stuff, syncing and making sure that as many bugs are addressed. And I really want to quick shout out to Craig, who has done most of the bug testing and the beta testing over the last bit, exhaustively doing that for at least the last year. So I want a special thanks to him. And I hope you guys enjoy the new account experience. We think that you'll find the syncing better, more reliable. Some of the things that were vexing current production users, I think you'll find addressed in the new version. So again, I welcome you guys all to start when it's convenient, and I hope you appreciate the new experience. And I want to thank you guys for joining us today. We had, as I said, almost 250 people registered, which is a fantastic amount of interest. So we want to thank everyone for that. What we're going to do is, we've got this event recorded. Everyone that registered, will send around a link tomorrow. So thank you very much. We'll let you return to your day and make it a great one.